There are lots of cursed spirits in Jujutsu Kaisen. For reference, Suguru Geto had 4,461 at one point, and while we obviously cannot discuss every single one of them, we will discuss all the named curses, ranging from weak enough to be exercised with a bat to powerful enough to level whole towns as if they are nothing. At number 1, we have Flyheads. Flyheads are weak insect-like curses that are ranked lower than grade 4. To give you an idea of how weak they are, you can exercise a grade 4 curse with a wooden bat. There isn't much to them, except for the fact that they are used by Jujutsu High to test if civilians can see curses or not. However, Toji Fushiguro did use these weakest curses in the Jujutsu world to defeat the Gojo Satoru. You see, since Toji didn't have any curse energy, Gojo tried to detect the energy of the cursed spirit wrapped around Toji. However, before Gojo could even do that, Toji unleashed a very large number of Flyheads. This not only interfered with Gojo's ability to detect cursed energy, but also masked Toji's presence, allowing Toji to invade Gojo's personal space and bring him closer to death than ever before. The reason Toji was able to release such a huge number of Flyheads was because of the cursed spirit we have at number 2, the Inventory Curse. As the name suggests, this curse can store objects within its body. This not only allows Toji to change his weapons mid-fight, but the curse can also shrink itself, allowing Toji to swallow it. But why would Toji do that? I mean, swallowing curses is Geto's job. Well, swallowing the curse makes it impossible for others to detect the curse energy emitted by the Inventory Curse. This small feature is very important, so much so that it would have been impossible for Toji to move through Tengen's barriers undetected while carrying special grade curse tools. The Inventory Curse was eventually captured by Suguru Geto, who was only able to do so after Toji's death. Number 3, Yasuhachi Bridge Curse. This curse is exactly like the classic whack-a-mole game, where the mole dodges the attacks by hiding in its holes. In Megumi's case, he predicts the curse's movement and gives his all into the attack. Now, the mole curse dodges this and tries to attack Megumi from behind, but Megumi uses his Divine Dog Totality to exercise the curse for good. Now, Megumi did a good job against this curse and the one that appears right after it, but what he didn't do a good job against was a curse at number 4, the Occult Club Curse. This is the very first cursed spirit we see in the Jujutsu Kaisen. Most of you might not even remember this curse, but despite being such a forgettable cursed spirit, the Occult Club Curse was able to almost knock out the then second grade Jujutsu sorcerer Megumi Fushiguro, which might not sound crazy until you realize that a second grade sorcerer is actually on par with a first grade curse. This means that Megumi was supposed to easily defeat the Occult Club Curse. This curse eventually got one shot by Yuji, but that was after he ate Sukuna's finger. Now, despite being strong enough to smash Megumi, the Occult Club Curse didn't have any kind of intelligence, but this is something very common in the upcoming curses, like the one we have at number 5, the Roppongi Curse. We don't know about the grade of this curse, but according to Nobara, it was at best a grade 3 curse. But despite being this weak, the Roppongi Curse turned the tables against Nobara. Thanks to having some sort of intelligence, the Roppongi Curse took a hostage and made Nobara drop her weapon. I mean, Nobara even said her last wishes. Now, Nobara easily defeated this curse with her resonance after Yuji saved her life, but that was one of the 2 easy fights the first year we're going to have in their Jujutsu career, because right after that, our trio faced a special grade cursed spirit. At number 6, we have the Fingerbearers, because there are 2 of them. These special grade cursed spirits emerge from the cursed wombs, a cursed womb that spawns when a cursed spirit consumes one of Sukuna's fingers. The first one appears in chapter 6 in front of the first years, and as expected of a special grade, it completely overpowered both Megumi and Itadori. The aura of this thing was so intense that both first years couldn't even move their body for a moment, and when Yuji finally moved his body to attack the Fingerbearer, he got his hand chopped off. It was the first time Yuji actually felt weak. Yuji couldn't even put a scratch on the Fingerbearer, even after using cursed energy. Now, things are different when the Fingerbearer meets its originator, the King of Curses Sukuna, because he couldn't do anything to Sukuna. Instead, Sukuna turned it into a decoration piece and later killed it by slicing it into 4 pieces. This doesn't mean that the Fingerbearer was weak. No, instead its opponent Sukuna was leagues above its level. Despite getting whooped by Sukuna, this special grade curse is so strong that you would need a rapid carpet bombing to even think of defeating it. The second Fingerbearer isn't much different. It could use the same curse energy blast as the first one and like trolling its opponents after showing the difference between their their strength. According to Megumi, the second Fingerbearer was stronger than the first, but all it took to exercise it was a stab from Divine Dog Totality. Now, I know it dispelled Megumi's domain with just a blast of explosive curse energy, but that itself was a diversion created by Megumi to exercise the fairy thing he lost to before. The next curse spirit isn't a special grade, but it does give us an idea of how humanity's fear of something can give birth to the deadliest curses we will be discussing later in the video. At number 7, we have the Kogai, which literally translates to Locust Guy. This grade 2 curse spirit was born from humanity's fear and hatred for locust plagues. It has strong legs and insane jaws that allow it to rapidly move across the small area and bite everything in its range. These jaws are so strong that they can rip through a metal sign without any problem, which means chewing through flesh doesn't even count as a warm-up. Along with that, just like normal locusts, Kogai can release a black mucus from his mouth as a projectile. Another thing this Kogai can do is expand his stomach. Locusts use it to lay eggs deep underground, but Kogai uses it to instantly stab his opponents. Now, we don't know how much damage the last two attacks do, since Yuji simply dodged them and squashed the big insect. However, we do know how much damage the Cursed Womb Death Paintings can do to their opponents, starting with Iso and Kechizu at number 8. The Cursed Womb Death Paintings are the 9 cursed objects created by Noritoshi Kamo, who mixed the blood of both a cursed spirit and a human. These are not your typical cursed spirits, since they don't disappear after their death. Out of these 9 death painting wombs, the number 1 through 3 are special grade, 2 of which are Iso and Kechizu. These two brothers have mostly the same techniques. The first one is the Rot technique. This technique basically grants corrosive blood to the two brothers. Not only can this blood decompose their target upon contact, but it's also poisonous. And while Kechizu is only shown to shoot blasts of corrosive blood at his opponents, Eso can reshape and manipulate his blood at will, which gets a huge power up after he unleashes his maximum Wing King. The Wing King reshapes the blood flowing out of Eso's back into wasp-shaped wings. These wings in turn grant Eso more mobility, as well as a way to attack with his blood from long range. The attack speed of the blood projectile is also crazy, because despite Yuji's superhuman speed, Eso was eventually able to catch up and hit Nobara from behind. If this sounds crazy, then let's talk about the extension of this technique, Decay. This technique can be activated once Eso or Kechizu's blood enters their target through either mouth or eyes, or through wounds. This creates a floral pattern on the target's body. After that, their blood begins to poison and decompose the target's body from the point the blood entered their body. All Eso and Kechizu have to do is wait, because it's only a matter of minutes before their opponents turn into skeletons. In Nobara's case, the decay would have killed her in 10 minutes only, and as for Itadori Yuji, 15 minutes would have been enough. If it wasn't for Nobara's resonance, Megumi would be the only first year alive in the Jutsu High. Nobara's resonance forced Eso to deactivate his technique, allowing the first years to finish off Kechizu, which was then followed by the death of Eso. However, there is still one more brother left. At number 9, we have Choso. Choso is the strongest of the Cursed Womb Death Paintings, who not only has the poisonous blood like his brothers, but also knows the inherited technique of the Kamo clan and uses it in countless different ways. But first, let's talk about Choso as a brother. We all can agree that Choso is the big bro we want. Choso firmly believes that he must be a role model for his brothers. This dedication to being ahead of his brothers is what allowed Choso to keep pushing through the pain even after getting smacked by Kenjaku. His love for his brothers was already on a different level thanks to his curse technique. Out of all the users of blood manipulation, Choso is the only user that can sense the state of his brothers. Since death is one of such states, Choso can also find out if his brothers are dead or not. This was exactly why when he was about to kill Yuji, he realized that he and his other brothers share a connection with Yuji Itadori. As for the curse technique itself, let's first talk about the ones that are also used by Kamo Noritoshi. First is Slicing Exorcism. Choso can unleash sharpened blood that flies rapidly through the air to slice his targets. He can either shape it as long streams of blood to hit his opponents at a wide range, or into a rotating disc for one enemy. Then we have Convergence, which lets Choso compress his blood to its absolute limit, turning it into a dense small orb. Now, you can use this orb to form piercing blood, which lets Choso shoot the compressed blood in a very thin line that can easily puncture a human body. He can also change the direction of his blood in case it misses his opponent, although this does reduce the piercing power of the technique. Choso's version of piercing blood was so strong that even Noritoshi Kamo, the heir of the Kamo clan, was surprised when he first saw the attack. After that, we have Flowing Red Scale, which is simply like doping. By pumping blood faster throughout his body, Choso gets a huge increase in strength and speed by pumping blood faster throughout his body. We have also seen Kamo do that in his fight against Megumi, but what he couldn't do was take it to the next level, because Flowing Red Scale stack allowed Choso to overpower Yuji both in strength and speed. Choso can also channel it into specific body parts. For example, in order to keep up with the projection sorcery of Naoya Zenin, Choso channeled Flowing Red Scale stack into his eyes to keep up with the movements of Naoya. Now, let's talk about the techniques we've only seen from Choso. First up is Supernova. Choso developed this technique after 150 years of perfecting his blood manipulation ability. After using inversions to create small orbs, Choso can shoot them out in different directions like a shotgun. Along with that, Choso can not only turn his blood into a dagger, but he can also create a small stone which he uses to puncture Yuji's internal organ. And if that wasn't enough, Choso was also able to copy Esso's Maximum Wing King. But unlike Esso, who could only shoot blood in straight lines, Choso used it to move compressed blood spheres around Kenjaku. This, as a result, allowed him to perform multiple supernova attacks around him and eventually forced Kenjaku to use another ability besides Curse Spirit Manipulation. Speaking of Curse Spirit Manipulation, let's discuss all the Curse Spirits used by Geto. At number 10, we have Rainbow Dragon. Rainbow Dragon was one of Geto's strongest curses when he was a second-year student. It could not only fly long distances while carrying people, but it was also the toughest curse out of all the cursed spirits Geto had. Now, I know that Toji sliced it in half using his katana, but you have to keep in mind that it was not a normal katana. What Toji used was Split Soul Katana. This curse tool bypassed all resistances and cuts directly at the soul. In Rainbow Dragon's case, it bypassed his physical durability to effortlessly cut it in half. Next, we have Kuchisake Onna at number 11. Kuchisake Onna was a cursed spirit of an unknown rank whose simple domain forces a binding vow of no violence until her question is answered. However, after you answer the question, Kuchisake Onna will try to cut her target with multiple scissors around their body. We are at the halfway point, so let's move on to number 12, where we have Tamamo no Mai Incarnate. She is not only one of the 16 special grade curses, but was also Geto's strongest cursed spirit during the Night Parade incident. Geto uses her in his fight against Yuta Okotsu along with Maximum Uzumaki, which converts all the curses he possesses into one powerful blast of curse energy. The reason he used Tamamo no Mai was to deal with Rika, the cursed spirit that was connected to Yuta at that time. I'm sure 95% of the Jutsu fans don't know this, but in the novelization of Movie Zero, it's mentioned that Tamamo no Mai was roughly as strong as the Queen of Curses, Rika. So while Tamamo no Mai deals with Rika, Geto can use Maximum Uzumaki to delete Yuta from existence. However, Geto's plan failed and Yuta managed to survive the attack with Rika's help. We'll discuss exactly how he pulled this off later in the video. For now, let's discuss the curses possessed by Kenjaku. At number 13, we have Ganesha. Ganesha was a special grade curse spirit that Kenjaku describes as an Asian divine curse that removes all obstacles. Kenjaku first uses this curse to remove and transport all the soldiers from the White House into the sky. And while it sounds overpowered, Ganesha wasn't able to contain the overwhelming mass created by Yuki's Star Rage and was instantly exorcised by the special grade sorcerer. Another special grade curse we have at number 14 is Akuro Otake. The only thing we know about Akuro Otake is the fact that it's a special grade rebellion curse. Now, we were about to know more about it, but Fumihiko Takaba literally ran it over with a truck created through his curse technique Comedian. Next at number 15, we have Smallpox Deity, another special grade curse that trapped both Meimei and her brother Ui Ui within its domain expansion. Its domain expansion targets the person with the stronger curse energy inside the domain. There are 3 simple steps to this. First, it traps the said person in a coffin. After that, it buries the coffin under a gravestone. Then, if the target doesn't escape the coffin in 3 seconds, they will get infected by the disease, which will result in their death. This technique is insanely effective against a lone person, but because Meimei also had her brother Ui Ui, she was able to get out of it. By suppressing her curse energy and allowing Ui Ui to release his energy to make him the target of the curse's domain, it gave Meimei enough time to exorcise the smallpox deity without any critical injury. Kurourushi at number 16 was a special grade cockroach curse spirit that was controlled by Kenjaku, but Kenjaku released it to participate in the Colon game as a player, and the reason for its existence, in my opinion, is pretty hilarious. The collective fear and hatred humanity has for cockroaches gave rise to this special grade curse spirit, but despite having such a hilarious existence, Kurourushi's curse technique is no joke. Let's let's start with Earth and Insect Trance. This curse technique allows Kurourushi to summon 2 flying insects that have large pouches. These pouches can easily get destroyed, which releases a liquid that can mess with the sight of his opponents. Its innate technique, on the other hand, allows Kurourushi to create endless amounts of real cockroaches that are filled with curse energy. Now, a single cockroach reinforced with curse energy is not a real threat, but a full army of these things can not only eat a human in seconds, but can also give trouble to someone like Yuta. But that's not the only crazy thing that makes Kurourushi a deadly curse, because Kurourushi doesn't create those cockroaches to only satisfy its hunger. These cockroaches also help Kurourushi perform parthenogenesis. I know, it's a big word, but let me make it easy for you. Basically, this allows Kurourushi to create an identical yet entirely new curse spirit. The main purpose behind parthenogenesis is to preserve Kurourushi's existence, which is why the curse energy from the parent was passed on to the new Kurourushi when the old one died. And if that wasn't enough already, Kurourushi also has the Festering Life Sword. This disgusting sword has 6 firing barrels that can launch cursed insect eggs into its target. These insects instantly hatch inside the target, causing insect curses to burst instantly from the target's body. Now, let me tell you what happens when a Jujutsu sorcerer becomes a curse. At number 17, Cursed Naoya. The cursed spirit of Naoya was on a whole different level than the human Naoya, because while the human Naoya got destroyed by Maki Zenin, the cursed Naoya defeated Maki's body of steel by moving at 3 times the speed of sound. The domain was no joke either, because anyone who moves within the domain must follow the pattern Naoya creates with his projection sorcery. The crazy thing is, in domain, this curse technique works on cellular level, which means the moment you move, each and every cell of your body will freeze. This causes countless small cuts to appear all over the body, and don't even think about forcing a movement, because the moment you swing your sword, you will lose your wrist. You know what's more crazy than this? A child becoming a stronger curse than a Jujutsu sorcerer. At number 18, we have Rika. Rika was the childhood friend of Yuta Okotsu who died in a car accident. Her spirit, however, was unknowingly cursed by Yuta himself, which transformed her into a special grade cursed spirit. Yuta eventually removed the curse from Rika Orimoto, but the cursed Rika remained with Yuta. This special grade curse was unmatched in terms of pure destructive potential. To give you an idea of how strong Rika is, when Geto launched an attack against the Jujutsu High, he knew he only had a 20% chance of winning against the Jujutsu High. However, Geto believed that if he captured Rika, his chances of winning could rise to 99%. But what if I tell you that it's not the full power of Rika? Because Rika became more powerful after Yuta removed the limits on her cursed energy in exchange for his life. This lets her unleash an incredibly powerful blast that not only dealt with Geto's Uzumaki, but also overpowered Geto's Tamamo no Mai incarnate and brought Geto one step closer to death. Just like the inventory curse, Rika can also store cursed tools and weapons for Yuta and even help him equip them. But by far, the most important use case of Rika, apart from fighting alongside Yuta, is her ability to store curse techniques for Yuta, because copying different techniques without any external storage will overload your brain's memory, and that's where Rika comes in. However, Yuta can only use these techniques in his domain expansion or when Rika is fully manifested. This not only includes the inherited curse speech of Toge clan, but also the body hopping ability of Kenjaku, which he knew very little of. We are only left with 4 curses, so let's talk about the ones created from the humanity's fear of natural disasters. At number 19, we have Hanami. She is an unregistered special grade curse that was born from the fear of land-based natural disasters, and her goal is simple. She wants to get rid of humans that mistreat Earth-chan, and she definitely had the power to do that. I mean, despite the fact that Inumaki didn't use any strong commands against her, Inumaki could only use his curse speech twice before coughing blood. I mean, despite getting destroyed by 4 back-to-back black flashes and getting whooped by Todo from Playful Cloud, Hanami was able to survive the hollow purple of Gojo Satoru. If we're talking about curse techniques, then Hanami can bring the illusions of cursed plants into reality. While it looks like she's controlling the normal plant, Hanami's actually creating the cursed plant, which allows her to instantly create an erased plant from existence. This allows her to create huge roots from the ground to attack her opponents at long range. Hanami can also create wooden balls, which not only allows her to hover in air, but she can also launch sharp branches to puncture her enemies. Out of all the attacks used by Hanami, you have to be careful with the cursed bud, because these things attach themselves to their targets and feed on their cursed energy. The more cursed energy the person uses, the deeper its roots will extend into their bodies. Now, all of these attacks look dangerous, so a sorcerer will naturally be on their guard as soon as Hanami unleashes them. However, Flower Field is completely different in that regard. By creating a circle of flowers around their opponent, Hanami distracts them with a curse that takes away their desire to fight. This thing was so effective that it even worked on Gojo. After that, we have Hanami's domain expansion, which is yet another thing we couldn't see, but we do know how Hanami can activate it. By stealing the life from plants and converting it into curse energy, Hanami can charge the flower on her shoulder, which as a result allows her to shoot a beam from the flower. Dagon is another unregistered special grade curse that was born from the fear of water-based natural disasters. Unlike the rest of the unregistered curses, Dagon was different. Up until Shibuya, he only existed as a cursed womb and was obviously weaker than his friends. So much so that Naobito Zenin sent him flying with just one punch. But things got real after he evolved, because he transformed from this to this. And even though he was a quiet guy the whole series, Dagon suddenly became aggressive. He flooded the entire floor of a station right after his evolution and went on to tank multiple critical hits from 2 first-grade sorcerers, to the point that Nanami thought Dagon has unlimited HP. And when Naobito began to overwhelm him with his projection sorcery, Dagon immediately decided to expand his domain. Dagon's domain, aka Horizon of the Captivating Skanda, is a sunny tropical island, and while it is a beautiful island and it even has lounge chairs, I would not recommend living in it, because in this domain, Dagon Shikigami are guaranteed to bite you to death. Dagon has a huge variety of Shikigami, from small piranhas to sharks and huge eel-like snakes. Dagon's death swarm releases countless Shikigami towards his opponents. What's impressive is that Dagon can divide the effectiveness of his attack among his opponents. For example, he focused 70% of his power to Naobito, while the remaining 30% of the technique was sent towards Nanami's way. And since all domain expansions have a sure hit attack, getting shredded to pieces by sea creatures makes it one of the most brutal domains to die in. This domain overwhelmed the first grade sorcerers to such a degree that their only option was to escape out of the hole created by Megumi's domain. And while they couldn't escape through that hole thanks to Toji Fushiguro, who used it to enter the domain, it wasn't a problem since Toji exercised a special grade in a few moments. Now that doesn't mean Dagon was a joke. No, I just told you what he did to 2 first grade sorcerers. It's just that Toji Fushiguro was on a whole different level for Dagon, and the curse spear paid for underestimating the monkey with no curse energy. However, that doesn't mean things were over for the sorcerers, because the next thing they faced was Jogo at number 21. Jogo was born of humanity's fear of volcanoes and fire-based disasters. While we don't have a very good first impression of Jogo, who got trolled by Gojo in chapter 15, we see his true potential in chapter 111. You know that Naobito and Nanami thought when they saw Jogo for the first time. Compared to that cursed Dagon, this one's on a whole different level. And in just 3 pages, he critically injured both Nanami and Maki by just touching them, and instantly roast Naobito to death by creating 2 small volcanoes on the spot. Yes, volcanoes! Jogo's disaster flames allow him to produce deadly cursed flames. He can either shoot these flames from his hand or create volcanoes that do the same job for him, and he doesn't even need volcanoes to set a huge building on fire. Along with that, Jogo can summon small flying insect curses from the volcano on his head. These curses produce a loud noise on impact and cause a huge explosion around their target. After that, we have Jogo's domain, Coffin of the Iron Mountain. Jogo's domain creates the inside of a volcano, which according to Jogo is so hot that it could burn an average sorcerer the moment they enter it. And while all that is crazy, without a doubt, Jogo's ultimate move is just jaw-dropping. His maximum meteor allows him to create a huge flaming meteor that can turn an entire town into ashes. This meteor erased a large portion of Shibuya, and was so strong that even Sukuna admitted that he would have suffered damage from it if the attack landed on him. And I know, Sukuna defeated the fire with fire, but come on, he's the king of curses, and the same king of curses also said that out of all the opponents he's faced over 1,000 years ago, Jogo was one of the stronger ones, which is all the proof you need for Jogo's strength. After Jogo, we have everyone's favorite, Mahito at number 22. Mahito is without a doubt the true curse spirit. I mean, he was born from the hatred people have toward each other. The way he manipulated Junpei into becoming a curse user and how he transfigured him right in front of his friend Itadori is a perfect example of his cursed nature. It doesn't stop here either. He killed Nobara and Nanami right in front of Yuji, and the timing on that couldn't have gotten any better, because Yuji was on his edge after seeing the massacre caused by Sukuna in Shibuya. Seeing two of the most precious people in his life get killed by a curse broke Yuji so bad that he just became a toy for Mahito. If it wasn't for Yuji's brother, Yuji would have been killed by Mahito without a doubt. And while he couldn't use idol transfiguration because of Sukuna, he could have easily sliced off Yuji's head. Speaking of idol transfiguration, let's talk about that. It basically allows Mahito to reshape souls, be it his own or someone else's. When used on himself, Mahito can either heal himself or change his body parts into weapons or limbs from other animals. Mahito can also heal other human beings. His healing even removed the heavenly restriction from Kokichi Muta and granted him a normal human body. Along with healing, he can warp other people's soul and create transfigured humans by simply touching them. This can either kill them or Mahito can use them to attack his opponent. With soul multiplicity, Mahito can even merge multiple souls together. This naturally causes a rejection which might seem useless, but by increasing the energy of the merged souls, Mahito can shoot those transfigured souls towards his opponent. This makes up for a very effective mid-range attack, and what's better is that Mahito can hide among those transfigured souls and surprise attack his opponent. But what if the souls Mahito combined don't reject each other? Well, that can allow Mahito to create polymorphic soul isomer. By forming the souls with weak rejection into one body, Mahito can create a transfigured human that can attack his opponent on his own. Now, it might sound like the normal transfigured human, but not only is polymorphic soul isomer more stable than the regular transfigured human, but it's also strong enough to send a sorcerer like Todo flying into the air. It does have a low durability, which is why Todo was able to take them down in one punch. Before we talk about the ultimate move in Mahito's arsenal, let's discuss his domain. Self-embodiment of perfection allows Mahito to create an environment where he's automatically connected with the souls of anyone that is inside the barrier, which means Mahito doesn't need to touch anyone to activate his technique. He can activate it from wherever he wants and however he wants. And just like Satoru Gojo, he can also activate this domain for 0.2 seconds, which sounds like a waste, but that's exactly what allowed Mahito to achieve his true perfected form. In chapter 130, after trying out his domain expansion of 0.2 seconds, Mahito lands a black flash on Todo, which when followed by the black flash Itadori lands on him, allows Mahito to reach a state of temporary euphoria, which as a result allows Mahito to grasp the true essence of his soul. This newfound understanding of his soul allows Mahito to evolve into true form, i.e. instant spirit body of distorted killing. This true form changed Mahito completely. It not only gave him a tougher exterior, Mahito's true form is 200% stronger than his original. He became so strong that he could create shockwaves by a single wave of his arm. But even that didn't satisfy Mahito's hunger, because to further maximize the killing efficiency of his new form, Mahito imposed a binding vow. This binding vow stopped Mahito from changing his shape, but in return turned him into a tank. He was aura farming while Yuji was hitting him with everything he had, and you already know Yuji's punches are no joke. Now, this doesn't mean he was immune to Black Flash. No, Mahito knew that if he took another Black Flash from Yuji, he's cooked. This is precisely the reason he deactivated instant spirit body distorted killing on the left side of his body, so that he can bait Yuji to attack where he wants. Mahito did this in order to reinforce the deactivated part of his body with the cursed energy. However, instead of using Black Flash, Yuji used a delayed fist that he was very fond of at the start of his Jutsu life. This threw Mahito off guard, but before Mahito could do anything, Yuji smashed Mahito with a Black Flash and punched him out of his true form, which eventually left Mahito at Yuji's mercy. Now, we all know what happened. After that, Kenjaku joined the chat and absorbed Mahito with this cursed spirit manipulation. But if you want to learn everything about the curse technique and binding vows used by these disgusting curses, then you can check our video on every curse technique in JJK and every binding vow in JJK.